Hello, and welcome back to Roll for Damage, Episode 12. Today we're making hex grid modular tiles. Make sure to click on the link below and print that link out if you're going to follow along with me and make a 1 3/16 inch grid. You're going to have to blow that up to 175. If you're only going to stick with the 1-inch tiles, you only need to go to 150. I am abandoning the 1-inch grid for two reasons. For one, it's too cluttered to have several 1-inch minis next to each other. And for two, if you're following along this series, the bottle cap bases that I make fit perfectly within these tiles with a little bit of room all around. So, either way, whatever template, whatever size, just follow along. So what I did was I cut out the 3x3 grid that you see right there. I poked out the centers where all the hexes meet. That way I had the dead perfect center, and I just traced it on my EVA foam. You could use this any three ways. You could do the cardboard DM Scotty way, the chipboard Wylock way, or the insulation foam Black Magic Craft. They're all very well perfect materials to do this. However, if you follow along with me, you know I love my EVA foam and for its flexibility and durability. And this is just a material I prefer to work with. So I cut out three different grids rather, and now I'm using my heat iron to cut those grids in, and I'm not going to apply pressure. I'm going to let that iron do all the work. So I'm just barely skimming it and just dragging that iron across that line straight. Just let it do the work. Don't force it. When you go to force it and that foam is not ready to melt, it leaves a weird pulled texture, like if your hot glue was about to cool and you pulled your gun away and it would just kind of pull that glue with it. It does the same thing to this foam. So just give it plenty of time to do what it needs to be done. And obviously, watching the video, it hardly takes any time for it to actually melt into this foam. This foam is a little bit different than the way the insulation foam acts. It's a little bit more susceptible to heat, which allows me to burn in texture and detail like I'm doing now. And if you wanted a more stone-like quality and more of a less rigid look, if you would take and pull in the iron from the hard crisp edges, and it kind of pulls that neatness away from the tiles, and it gives you a more well-worn look. However, being hex grid in my first tutorial on these hex grids, I wanted that crisp edge to remain. Alright, look at that. That's just locking together. So I'm going to go ahead and finish these out, and we'll be back. Alright, so now I'm just showing the different ways that they link together. These were a lot more interchangeable than I was expecting, which I don't know why I wasn't expecting these to be. I mean, it's a hex grid. They pretty much almost can combine in any combination or any direction. I just didn't expect it to be so interchangeable as it was. So I made a wall. It's a 1.5-inch wall. I'm using, in this current tutorial, I'm using a 1/2-inch EVA foam, though I think I may go down to a 3/16 in a future tutorial, just to show a different aspect of things you could do with the other side. So I'm going to manipulate it a little bit just to show you that gap that can sometimes pop up when I was arranging things. And all I did was cut out a single hex grid, singular, little piece, and that just fills that gap. And what I really love about these things is, see that angle that I have? You can't get that with a flat tiles that we normally use, the 1-inch grid linear tiles. This is a very easy and fun, pleasant surprise. So I had a bunch of fun just trying to come up with different angles and things that I could get that I can't get with my normal tiles. Like in all the videos, I painted everything flat black. I just used my acrylic spray bottle for that one. I didn't feel like going outside and messing with my spray paint. Painting it my dark gray. It looks a little light now, but once it dries, it'll be a little darker than, or a little lighter than charcoal. Sorry. It's not a dry brush by any means, but it's definitely not a thick coat like we're doing on our black paint. It's okay if that dark base gray coat gets down into some of the black, because once it dries, like I said, it's not much different than what that flat black coat is anyway. Alright, so now I'm going back and adding highlights, and what I'm doing is I'm gonna highlight all sides of each hexagon. That way it makes each tile pop in its own area. Once that dries, I'm going to go and I'm going to add some brown. In a few spots I'm putting brown into deep crevices, just to give it like a settled mud look into those cracks. And then I'm going back, and while my gray paint is still slightly wet, I'm going in and blending some of that brown in with it. And then I'm going to take some more of that highlighted gray that I was using for the highlights, and then I'm going to mix that and this brown together to produce another color. But in all actuality, I've only used 3 colors. If you're a horrible painter like I am, I've found that the multiple colors hides a lot of my painting follies and mistakes. And that's what those tiles turned out to look like. So not too bad for not being a very good painter. Alright, so I'm just showing you different angles and ways that you can use these hex grid tiles. If we had a hallway with a really cool angle on it, and you can't do that with the regular modular tiles that we use unless you actually have an angle piece that you created. However, I don't need those extra tiles with my hex grids. We could just on the fly put them where you need, and the walls fit exactly where you need them. Like I said, occasionally you'll come up with those little spots where you just get the extra tiles to fill in. And in this series, I'll be coming and I'll show you a few of those situations that'll pop up. I'm going to show you how to make some doors and things for these to fit. But playing around with this, there's not too many of those instances that actually popped up where I needed that. So I was trying to show you one more final instance that you would use that. And then see, now I have an angled room that could potentially lead into another hallway later on. So stick around, I'm going to show you in the next few series about everything we could do with these. I hope you enjoyed this. I have a lot of very cool things coming out, so please like, subscribe, and click that bell for any notifications.